What it is? How's it going, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about Invincible Season 2. We're going to talk about all the things. We're going to talk about superheroes and how they just keep getting whooped and worked. We're going to talk about all the blood and the gore and the viscera. Talk about space aliens and adventures, and of course also the deep stuff. We're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about moms and baby daddies and all that good stuff. So if you want to hear what we have to say, sit back, relax, grab a snack, grab a beverage, and listen on in to the first ones to die. Hey everybody, welcome to the First Ones to Die podcast. I am your host, Jerome, and I am joined by the always incredible Alex Andrade as my co-host. If you're hearing my voice, you're probably like, where's Jonathan? Don't worry, Jonathan is out at a music festival. He's at Coachella, chilling, enjoying himself, listening to the vibes. So it is just me and Alex today, but don't worry, all the Jonathan fans, he will be back next week. So be on the lookout for Jonathan next week in the next review. But until then, Alex, how are you doing?
I'm good. Well, better than I was last week. Like I mentioned earlier, I am getting over a head cold, which has been not fun. I don't get sick very often. Like, it's so rare that I do, that when I do get sick, it's like the worst, and I don't know how to act all of a sudden. I was like, what do I do for this? And people are like, just rest. All you have to do is rest. I'm like, I don't like that. But I spent like 2 days in bed and I was like, okay, I get it. I get the whole rest thing. It's fine. I got it. Um, but now I've felt better. And this Saturday, I was so excited. I got to see the Mariners versus the Cubs. And it's the first time I went to a Cubs game, even though I'm from Chicago. I'm a White Sox girl, will always be. But I got to see the Cubs and it was really cool. And they won 4-1. It was also my first time going to a Mariners game or really any sports event opening weekend or opening week. It was fucking cold, man. I don't think I've ever been to a sporting event or outside event in May or something, or April, whatever month or reality we're in. And it was so cold. The whole time I was there, I'm like shaking, putting up my sweater and bundling up. I was like, I think I've only been to games in June when I can wear my overalls or shorts or something. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
why is it so cold? So like I
See,
was
it reminds
freezing
me
the
of
whole night.
there's a TikTok like that of the groundhog. It's like Groundhog Day. And it's the animated thing, but it's a groundhog running through snow. Like Fred, where are you? It's like can't see the sun because it's just a snowstorm. Because it
Dude,
has been
like
like a cold spring. It's been weird. It's been a
it's
weirdly cold spring.
like it's been beautiful like sunshine and I'm like, "Oh yeah, sunshine, great. I'm going to get it." And you feel the warmth of the sun, but it's quickly like torn away from you by the breeze and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And also, craziest thing happened at the game. So something outside the stadium caught on fire. I don't know what it was.
Hmm.
So like we were in the middle of the stadium, like high up, of course, and then on the left side of the stadium, all of a sudden smoke started entering. And I was with my sister and her wife, and we were kind of staring at where it was coming from. And we're like, okay, let's keep on alert. Let's not leave yet, but like let's pay attention to the fact that the stadium's starting to get a little smoky. Then all of a sudden we started seeing puffs of black smoke, and we're like, okay, no, something's really on fire. And we saw like everybody on that side of the stadium who was up there kind of looking through those big windows at whatever I guess was on fire. And we're like, okay, so the black smoke went away, but there was still it was still smoky. So we were kind of watching those people, and we're like, if those people start leaving, if any of them start like going down the stairs, and I'm like, we're booking it. We're getting out of there because it was like a full stadium. So we're like, we're keeping an eye on them. We stopped watching the game. We're like, are they leaving?
That's
Eventually, they all sat
why'd you
down. We're
start
like,
running?
okay.
Because y'all was running. What do you mean?
That's what you do. You see somebody run, you run. It's a lot of times how people of color have survived. Go on your instincts. Don't be like, I wonder what they're running from. No. Don't wonder. Go. Just go. That's all you got to do. But that was fun. And the game, like I said, Cubs won 4-1, so it was pretty exciting. And it was really cool because this game there was a fair amount of Cubs fans in the stadium. It was almost like equal, like ration,
Like
ration,
ratio.
split. We'll go with the word split. ratio, thank you, out like 50-50 almost. And like Cubs fans were sitting with the Mariners like it was a pretty chill like mixing. Usually I go to these games like trying to hide that I'm like from Chicago because I'm like surrounded by the Mariners or surrounded by the Sounders. And then this time it was like a lot of Cubs fan. It was really cool to see. It was really fun. So, and then I got a little more sick on Sunday because I
Oh,
went
well,
out
probably because of the
and got,
cold.
yeah, no, I got blasted with cold again. I texted Lori. She's like, "You went without a blanket?" I'm like, "I didn't know I needed a blanket. People were out here wearing gloves and hats and everything. I'm like in my little sweater. I was like, I didn't know. I should have thought about it, but I didn't know." But anyway, that was my week, and it was pretty good, other than the sickness. But I got to be in bed for a couple days, so like sometimes that's just nice, man, to just like sleep. But how about you? How was your week going?
It's good. I watched Fallout, all the series. Thankfully, Amazon Prime released the whole thing one fell swoop.
Oh, I've seen the
Uh,
first 3 episodes.
it's so good. It's I like there have been some people who have
It
been
really is.
complaining because they're like it's cheesy and corny. I'm like that's the point. It's a 1950s esque world in a post apocalyptic setting mixed together. Like there's gonna be cheesiness and corniness in it because that's like it's that aesthetic mixing with Fallout. Like it's it's how it's supposed to be. Um, my thing was I was like, but does it balance it well? And it does. It's really good, and it captured the world so amazingly. Like I've only ever played Fallout 4, so I don't know all the lore of Fallout. But I know like a good chunk, like a good bit. And it's like the way they captured the look and the feel, like all the power armor suits look exactly like they do in the game. All the creatures, the ghouls, everything looks exactly like how it does in the game. And but also just the characters are really interesting. Like the main character played by Ella Purnell is really great, but also the other two quote unquote side characters or main characters, the Ghoul and Maximus, are also really good and interesting characters too, because you're not quite sure
See, I don't
where
like
they come from.
Maximus.
Maximus is one of those ones, he's the hardest to like, and it takes, I think Maximus is the one where it's like you got to stick with him the whole series. Because when I first started the show and I got to episode 3, I did not like Maximus either. so so I would say
He's
like
it feels like, yeah, I know. I'm like, that's when I go to get up and like do stuff and like pick up things. So like, oh, his storyline's coming on. I'm gonna just do
yeah,
something
as
else.
the series goes on, his story gets more interesting and much better. Um, but it's like, but he is the hardest one, I think, at least for me to like out
No,
the gate.
yeah,
Like
same.
Lucy and the Ghoul are interesting because Lucy's like, well, just a good person, and so naturally you just want to root for her because you know that she's got a good heart. She's just very naive. And the Ghoul is like, he's just
Yeah,
cool from the beginning of the first time you see him. You're like, dude, you're just
he's
cool.
so cool. Yeah,
So,
even when he was
but
like the cowboy at the kids' party, he's like great.
mm-hmm. So, but I mean, Walton Goggins though is just a great character actor in general. I don't think I've ever seen a role with him, especially when he is playing like a Western-esque character. That's his bag. Like that's where he shines.
Yeah, Christian, my sister was talking about like she's like I keep seeing him stuff and she's like I really like the character he plays and then I remember, oh, it's that actor. And I was like, yeah, I remember him from Lawless? Is that the show?
Justified.
Justified.
Mm-hmm.
Good job knowing. Well, you've been my friend for so long now. You know exactly what I'm saying when I say stuff like just like slightly close enough. You're like, "Oh yeah, she's talking about that." I got it. Um I remember watching him Justified. He was so good in that show and yeah, the cowboy
Mm-hmm.
energy he has is always just like really like on point with him.
He's one of my favorites in Hateful Eight, and that movie.
That's-
I don't hate it, but it was just one of those movies where I was like halfway through. I was like, once it hits the second half, I was like, well, this movie fell down the toilet. We were on a good track. Not that it's not awful, but the second half takes it down a few points for me. But even still, Walton Goggins still is the best part of that movie for me. Second to only to Sam Jackson, and it's because of how good of a character actor he is. He's just a really good character actor. And like especially because the Ghoul, especially like he has to act through like I always say this whenever actors or in a show, an ensemble show or movie, when you have an actor who's in makeup the whole time compared to everybody else. Because like Ella Purnell and I forget the actor who plays Maximus, but they have the benefit of being able to use their face to emote like as it is. He
Yeah.
has to like do that through the makeup, like, and through the prosthetics, and you still get where he's kind of, I mean, granted, you do see him like when he was a normal man too, so there's like a balance between the two, but still, all of his scenes as the ghoul, like, he does a great job acting through the makeup and through the prosthetics, and you still know what he's about and what he's thinking. And you know, it's like, I always give actors like extra kudos if they can like be like a character who's like you know, like a creature or an alien or something, and they still like, it doesn't hamper their performance in any way, shape, or form, because that's a hard thing to do. um I think the
Yeah.
best to do it is the Grinch with Jim Carrey, because like not a single piece of that makeup stopped him from being like super expressive. But
No
there's some
kidding.
people
Yeah,
who
I
do
will
who,
say I agree with that.
yeah. So like, yeah, Fallout was great. um I think I was trying to think. I don't think there's anything else I've watched this week. But I am excited for. I want to like, you know, I've been convinced to possibly go check out Abigail, so I'll let you know if I actually do check out that movie. Even though I feel like the trailers give away too much, but it's like a nice like. I like the idea of a B movie like vampire ballerina girl. So
Yeah, I
I'm
was like
into it.
looking at that. I'm like, I kind of want to see it, but I'm like, I don't know if it's like something I would like want to go and see in theaters. But it also like looks kind of like it's going to be a lot more funny, whether it's intentional or not, because they have such a variety in their casting. That's like I feel like there's a lot of me just sees un un just let me say it. Surprisingly, I'm sorry, my brain is still quite mushy from the cold. Surprisingly amount of just humorous moments where you just like are supposed to be scared but you bust out laughing. So I feel like it's like a movie you're definitely going to probably have a good time with.
Hmm. Yeah, so I'm excited for that, and that's pretty much been my week. Otherwise, it's been good. I've been just like reading a lot, picking up a lot of books. I just picked up last week. Last week I showed you She-Hulk. This week picked up the omnibus of Astro Boy, the original manga of Astro Boy. I'm excited to read it. You know, this book coming from like 1960s is really small.
Huge.
Like, it's not like it's very like, so I'm
Yeah, I
like,
was like
like it's very small print,
very
so
compact.
very. So I'm hoping it won't be too hard to read, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like the words are spread out pretty well, and the art looks amazing in it. So I'm excited to read it. Um, so yeah, that's been my week. But speaking of shows on Amazon Prime, Invincible season 2. It's finally all out. This has been an interesting series. We did do a review of Invincible season 1 when all of that came out, I think like 2 years ago. And so it's been exciting waiting for like the next season to come out, and I'm glad that it's getting a good reception from everybody universally. I think a lot of people are really liking it and still enjoying the show. And so I think it's been, and I think even before the season came out, they had already greenlit it for I think like 2 more seasons after this or something like that. So we are getting more. Like, it's already on the books, but just like, it's just really good. And like, yeah, as far as like the reception has been going, like the reception has been really good. And so we have more Invincible. But today we're going to talk about exclusively season 2, our thoughts. We're going to share our generic thoughts in the beginning, just like our general, like, did we like the show? Did we not like the show? Things we liked, didn't like, stuff like that. And then later we're going to do a full-on spoiler section. So, and we will audience tell you when that's coming up. So don't worry that, you know, you're going to get spoiled and nothing like that. We got you. We'll tell you exactly when that happens. But just to give you the rundown, first of all, what is Invincible? Invincible is a show. It's an adult anime series based on the Skybound / Image comic about a teenager whose father is the most powerful superhero on the planet. And that's the general synopsis, but the synopsis for season 2 is that after the aftermath of the finale of what was Invincible season 1, Mark Grayson, aka Invincible, is just feeling aimless in where he wants to be as a superhero, especially compared to his personal life with his girlfriend Amber and his mom and other people in his life, and trying to balance the two as he tries to figure out what superhero he wants to be, especially with the threat of a looming alien invasion over his head. So, Alex, what did you think about Invincible season 2?
I really enjoyed it. Of course, it was very bloody and gory, but took a couple turns that I really enjoyed and I was really surprised by. I did get frustrated with a few characters. I really did get annoyed with them. I got annoyed with Mark quite a bit in the first, in the part, because it's split up in part one and part two. Part one was shown, during November, and then part two came out recently in March. Uh, Part one, he definitely was annoying the fuck out of me. Because I was like, okay, I get you're going through it and you want to find your own identity and you're trying to balance the normality of your life. But at the same time, is you really need to start thinking more straight about this normality you want when you're literally not doing it at all. And then being surprised when the consequences occur, being like, what? How did this happen? Well, you disappeared for a while, man. What do you think was gonna happen to everybody around? So there were situations where I was like, you need to not. And then most of the characters I felt were really developed. I really loved the mom in the season.
Yeah,
I feel like
Debbie.
she got so shortchanged though. She really got she got screwed over in the first season. She gets really screwed over in this second season kind of too. Especially a lot in the beginning and middle part. And the way I like the way they handle her grieving process, and I'll touch more on that, but I feel her grieving process in the beginning episodes is really strong, and it's a really strong storyline of what's going on and how she's trying to handle everything. I think Debbie's character is just really well written this season. um and just yeah, trying not to go into spoilers, I really enjoyed the season. It kept me really interested. I like the storylines that were going on. The Martian storyline kind of I felt wasn't very strong on a point, and I'll again touch on that later. But the Martian one, so they did have a couple storylines where I was like, was this really needed? I feel like you could have introduced things a different way, but sure, let's go this route. This is okay. So it was kind of like that. There were a couple storylines where I was like, this isn't, I don't know what you're trying to do here, but let's move on. But anyway, yeah, I enjoyed it. I think it's well done this season. How about you?
I too like this season. I think it's really solid. I like the dedication to being a little more like faster. That was my main complaint about the last season, was how long they dragged out the major twist of the story till the last episode, because they were like, well, we got 8 episodes, we got to fill up space. And I was just like, you don't have to fill up this much goddamn space. Geez Louise, we I would like to get moving, get going. But to be fair, that was before I had really read Invincible. And I think the difference and my enjoyment for this season compared to last season has been because I started reading Invincible shortly after Invincible season 1 had or was getting close to ending. And so I started reading which I've shown it on the podcast. It's on my bookshelf. I'm not going to grab it right now, but I have the Invincible omnibus, the first omnibus. I'm going to get the second one. So I've read little past actually this season, season 2 as well. So I and I think being able to see the changes they made, and I think they're all good changes for the most part for a lot of characters, and then some things are just the same, but like the changes they made for a lot of these characters and their relationships and things they've dealt with, especially when it comes to Debbie, I think is a major upgrade this time around. And maybe that's because they have less time. You know, it's a TV show as opposed to a comic book, so you can't just like waste time. You And so here they try to like speed it up a little bit and have more like day-to-day stuff, especially because Mark as a character, like I do see what you mean by him being annoying. For me, it wasn't that he was annoying, just that like I am annoyed at just how not powered up Mark is, because at this point in the comic, Mark isn't like the best superhero in the world, but he's pretty good. You know, like he's average. Like he's not amazing, but he's not awful either. And here, Mark is still like a trash superhero. Like if it's bank robbers and stuff, easy, he's got that. But if it's anybody who is like super powered and like really powerful, he's trash. And for me, that was the annoying part where I'm like, God damn, can you like please like get better at this? Focus up, Mark. Like there's an alien invasion coming and you are still not good at this.
And I get what they were trying to do. They were like, oh, it's that whole don't kill people and like you're better than the other person, but that means you're holding back because you are powerful enough to kill some, storyline bit, metaphor. You let go completely. Now you're just as bad as your dad or something. I get what they were trying to do there, but yeah, it just made him like, so you're basically still as powerful as you once were. You still,
right?
Like, the levels felt the same.
But I do also like that, like this season you can tell they clearly listen to the fans. Because Amber is like a totally different character in this season than she was in the second season, or this season she was the first season. I don't know if it did a lot for people not to hate her as much. It did for me. I felt like Amber was an improvement on Amber's character this season. Same thing with Rex as well, which Rex is like going through, I feel like the same arc he went through in the comic, just is sped up a little bit. And then also Eve's arc in this is really interesting because it's a little new. Yeah. It's a little more nuanced, and I think also coming off of the Adam Eve like little mini episode they did that was like or little short film that was like I think it was like 40 or something, 40 or 50 minutes that they released earlier last year. Like we know a lot about Adam Eve as a character, and so here they really do some interesting stuff with Adam Eve this time around, and I enjoy that. I think in fact I was watching some behind the scenes stuff. Apparently there was plans that if Invincible didn't work out, like the comic when it was first coming out, that they were just going to scrap it and do an Adam Eve series instead, and then just like keep the series going that way, like as like a backdoor way of keeping it going, but just through the eyes of a different character. And I'm like, that'd be really cool. And she is such an interesting character, and her powers are so interesting that it's like I could see an Adam Eve series doing very well, especially with the way she's written here. So overall, I like season 2 a lot. I think it's a great continuation of the show. Also, the new villain was good. I just wish he was. And here's the thing: he's the amount of time he's in this show. Angstrom Levy, played by Sterling K. Brown. The amount of time he's in this show is the same amount of time he's in the comic. He really is not. He becomes important. Like he has like more stuff to do.
Is that who the voice by Sterling K. Brown? I was trying to figure that out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like he's like he isn't there for much. And I only say that because he's like on the poster. Like the big one with the green eyes.
Well, you know how they love putting characters that are in the show for 5 minutes on posters.
Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. Also, Alan the Alien too. Seth Rogen's character is Alan the Alien. Also great. Alan's a great character in general, but
so when he first appeared, I didn't know that was Seth Rogen. It wasn't until the next time Alan appears in the show, I was looking down at my phone texting, and I heard Seth Rogen's voice, and I was like, what the hell? When did he get in there? And then I saw him. I was like, has he been Alan the whole time? So I did not pay attention to that.
Also, good on them. Also, another thing they did, listening to the audience, they did not, I mean, they did talk about, hey, we have a big list of stars for the show. They did not rely on that, though, this season. This season, they were not worried about, hey, John Hamm, Rami Youssef, Sterling K. Brown. Like, they were like, that was the first trailer and only the first trailer. Otherwise, they were like, I mean, yeah, they're there, but really, they're not important characters. Really, our main cast is already fleshed out. These are the characters to worry about and focus on. And so we didn't have just like moments with random characters just because you had that voice actor or that actor that day and you really needed people to hear them talk. Like, nah. Like, so it's great. Like, I appreciate that. So yeah, so those are our general thoughts. We're about to go into spoilers. So if you haven't seen any of Invincible season 1 or 2, hop on off. We're going to spoil the whole thing. We're going to talk about the show with no bars held. And, but you know, just pause this, go watch that, come back and get you some of this podcast goodness, hear the rest of this review. Cause I promise you it's going to be a good conversation. But yeah, so going into spoilers, Alex, did you what did you think about like Mark's journey this season as he like, cause we do see Mark go through a journey like of him like wanting to not be like his dad and be super like I don't kill people. Look, and then at the end of the series, he was like, well, listen, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
I thought I had daddy issues. All right. But Mark, like every 5 minutes, I'm not my father. I'm not my father. They like made him repeat that line all the time. And like the first 2 episodes, every other character was like, he's not his father. Like, you know, I understand y'all working through something there, but like maybe that line was a little overused in the first 2 episodes. Definitely. He's not his, I'm not my, I get it. I get that that's something y'all need to work through. I was so annoyed with his character when he disappeared for the 2 months when he finally moved to college and came back. And he's like, what? You did this while I was gone? What did you think was going to happen? Like when his mom gave away his dad's books, he's like, why didn't you talk to me? You were kind of at a cell reception, you know? And then he was like, why is the room empty? What's going on with my dorm? He's like, you were gone. It's like, why am I in trouble with the dean? You didn't show up to classes for the first 2 months of college. What do you think was going to happen? And that's where I'm a little like, where I keep getting annoyed with his character. Because he like goes and be a superhero. He wants to be a superhero. Cool, be a superhero. But you can't be like, what? Why is this happening? Because you literally didn't show up whatsoever. Of course, people are going to just keep going. And I think that's where he has where the character gets, where the character annoys me in the beginning, at least, is that he almost expects everybody to kind of wait for him and kind of go by what he's trying to work through. So, but I understand it's like a grief process, and he's like, oh, I just want this life, but it's like you can't have both, really.
Well, I also like I understood it because I was like, it's because I get as like a teen, I get that he like wants to he wants to have it all. He wants to be the superhero, but he also wants to still be like, you know, have a normal life and all those things. For me though, I'm like, it's not Mark's fault. You know whose fault it is? The damn Guardians of the Globe, because they're trash. The only useful one on the team is immortal. Everybody else like is either inexperienced, so they're trash because they just don't know what to do, or they just suck in general.
They really do. They were all so bad. When they put them together, I was like, okay, some of these have interesting powers. And then they kept going on these missions. I'm like, this feels like they got no battle strategy going on whatsoever. Like nothing's being talked about ahead. Like you go this way, you go this way. No, they're like, just everybody bum rush the guy or something. So it was like no strategy, no tactic or anything. They were all just they were trying to use their powers kind of individually, but when you know you're in a team, you should kind of use them together, you know, correspond or stuff. Yeah, no, they're
that's the thing. They don't team up for anything. They always take on people one-on-one, and I'm like, when it was the old Guardians, that maybe could have worked. You had like a fish man who could control water. You had like the Martian guy who can like stretch and shapeshift and stuff. The green lady who could like phase through walls, and then Immortal and War Woman were your heavies. They could like deal out some serious punishment. Like they had super strength, all that stuff. Even Darkwing, who was essentially Batman, could like like had gadgetry and stuff, like had skills. You like all y'all, half of you are teenagers, so you don't really know what to do. And the ones who aren't teenagers are, because like Robot's now like a person, so he's at more risk than he was back in the day. Monster
Yeah.
Girl can use her powers, but at the risk of her getting younger and younger every time she uses it. Friggin' Black Samson is a heavy, but he doesn't have the tactical mind to be like the leader he should be. Immortal's fine. He's good. He's just dealing with a lot. Duplicate has no super strength. Her only power is to duplicate, which would be fine if it was for the fact that she then tries to take on like the biggest people. Like, stop trying to take on the people with super strength.
Well, like, spoiler, she dies because doesn't have any, she barely has any strength, and she tries to take on the biggest guy in like this massive fight where everybody's kind of, getting hurt and dying and stuff. And she's like, let me take him on alone. And it's like, the way he kills her is like, he just claps her and the duplicate together like this, like nothing. And I was like, well, how is duplicating going to help you if you literally could not fight the guy down? Let's duplicate one more time and try the same tactic over and over. And that's what I mean.
Right.
They have like no tactic whatsoever. And Rex,
Especially
of course, is just childish. Although I love Rex this season, he was just hilarious to me. Because like I felt like none of the other Guardians really like swore, or like I didn't hear too much like swearing from them. But all of a sudden Rex like, well, fuck us, huh? Just like it felt like out of nowhere. He was just like, your comedy timing is like doesn't feel forced with Rex. It feels like really natural at the beginning. And I really love when he would just like kind of he's like, well, that's a fucking joke, isn't it?
Well, you've got Jason. Is it Jason Mantzoukas? Yeah, Jason Mantzoukas. So it's like you've already got like a pretty good like comedic actor doing the voice of Rex, and he does a great job capturing Rex's like, because in the comics he's kind of bland. Like, I mean, he is like still like supposed to be like that jokey character, but he says very little, and he's kind of in the background for a lot of it. So here they give Rex a lot more to do and say, and much more of a personality, and it works. It's really great. And it's like, and that's, I think, the thing I think that would make us maybe like the Guardians a little bit more is if they had more personality, because like so far the only ones we really know are like Monster Girl, Robot or Rudy now, Rex and Immortal. The rest are kind of, and I guess Kate to a degree, but really we only know her from the standpoint of who she's dating, because she was with Rex, then she's with Immortal, like, and it's like, and I like half of that is because they're following the comic, where Kate really doesn't get characterization till after she dies, is when we start to get a little bit more of who Kate is, and stuff with another character who I don't want to spoil who he is in case they do use that character later, but there's a lot going on with Kate later on, so maybe in the next season we'll get more with Kate. But it's just the Guardians themselves are just kind of like, at this point, kind of boring as characters. No,
absolutely. They just,
and then it doesn't help. They just get washed. Granted, the way it happens in this is the way it happens in the comics. Like the Guardians, they do split up. Like that whole storyline happens exactly the same way. The Shapesmith and all of them go to like deal with the Martian thing, while who's left with the Guardians deals with the Lizard League and gets like wiped. All that happens the exact same way. It's just the fact of like, every time Cecil is like, oh well, like we've called the Guardians, I'm like, why? Like when Anissa comes down and Invincible and Anissa are fighting, and they're like, we've called the Guardians. We're like, to do what exactly? Mark has a better chance now than he would if the Guardians were here. What are they supposed to do?
Kidding. And I also want to talk about the Lizard Kingdom League.
Yeah, the Lizard League.
Was that first guy in just a lizard suit?
Yes.
I'm trying to remember that.
Yes.
That was just I forget his name,
because there's so many Lizard League members, and they do pop up in the comics a couple times, and I just like but I've honestly forgot, because there's like King Lizard, In Adam Eve, we get to see him as a little boy as Prince Lizard and Queen Lizard, and then
Yeah.
there's like Viper and Python and like all these other lizards. Because there's a lot of the members of the Lizard League, and it's hard to like remember them all. But yeah, the first guy, he's just in a Cobra outfit.
Okay, I wanted to make sure like I was like paying attention to that because I'm like, okay, maybe he just looks like a weird lizard. Everybody else looks like or maybe like that's how he's a deformed lizard or something. But like, okay, he was just a man in a lizard suit. I was
Yes,
right.
a lot of them are people in lizard suits, really. Um, but yeah, and it's funny because the Lizard League are supposed to suck. That's the joke. Is they're terrible. They're supposed to be terrible bad guys, and so when they do wipe the Guardians, it's like, oh, okay, well, never mind. Y'all should have maybe took this
That's
more
how bad you
seriously.
guys are. Yeah.
Or that too. It might be like, or y'all just suck without like your heavies here. Because if Invincible and Adam Eve and Rudy and Immortal were here, we would have been solved this problem.
Yeah. Um, I know we're going for a shorter episode today because so I want to actually talk about the intro to the season, uh, where we start off. Really does try to
Yeah.
play you, and I love how they did it because when I first put it on and they were going everything. So we actually start off in an alternate universe where Invincible teams up with Omni-Man, his dad, and they try to take over for the. I'm thinking of Vulcans, but I know that's not their name.
For the Viltrumites.
I was watching Star Trek last night. Vulture Knights?
Viltrumites.
Viltronites. Thank you. And they were preparing for the Viltronites to come over and just take over Earth. I was like, wait, when did this happen? Because didn't Omni-Man just fly off into space at the end of last season? I almost was like, I think I have to watch the last episode again. But then they clarify about what's going on and what's happening. And I really love how they tried to like kind of trick you at that beginning. It was so well done, and the resistance and how it's all the old guardians or the people who were part of the guardians and part of Cecil's basically like crew, the resistance and being like, yeah, they're working together. And what he does with Eve, Adam
Mm-hmm.
Eve, and how
Yeah.
he's like, I can't live without you, and he like snaps her neck, but he only does it to paralyze her. And then like I got such a shiver when Omni Man was like, oh, I was wondering what you were doing with all those protesters last week. He was snapping his neck to learn how to paralyze. I was like, oh, that's disturbing. I like it. That's disturbing, but I like it.
I like the idea that like Mark, when he goes evil, it's not like he's a little evil, like he has some reservations, or he's like, well, I'm just doing it to be, because I just don't want to resist my dad or whatever. No, he goes full blown evil. Like we go to, because at the end of this, like end of the series, we go to other universes too and find out more about evil Marks. And all of them are just like blatantly
Oh
have
yeah.
sipped the Kool-Aid hard, where like even down to even one of them is like Angstrom Levy is the character we get to see the universes through, and he has a son, and Mark is just like one of the evil Marks is like, here, you know what, I'm gonna kill you, but let me kill your son right in front of you first, just so you could see what's gonna happen, just so I'll spare him the pain of
Yeah.
seeing you die. And I'm like, what the hell is the matter? Like there is no
Yeah.
Mark that is like a little evil, but really, if we talk to him, he could maybe become good. No, they are just like cruel, harsh, dark, like people.
Which is like so great. See, that's what I loved also about one big multiverse person. Love it. Time travel, all that bullshit. Um, I love that they showed us the way how evil those marks were because it made you really think about like at the beginning of the season when he's like, I'm not my father, and he doesn't want to kill people and he's like holding back still. It kind of makes more sense. Kind of like, oh, maybe he should hold back. Maybe that power development, if he doesn't get that power, he won't turn evil. Because you're right. When he turns evil, it's proper evil. Like I feel like he could even kill his dad, being like, "Get out of my way now. You're not useful to me anymore." Type of evil going on. So I really like that show, and it kind of made his holding back of power at the beginning of the season, or his lack of power at the beginning of the season, make a little sense. I don't know if that's what the book intended or the show intended, but it kind of felt like it gave that a little justification to why his power is not developing. Because if his
Well,
power grows, yeah,
in the book, it's that like like I said, in the book, it's just that Mark is, because like in the last season, his dad, they have a very quick conversation, so much so that I forgot it even happened until I watched the recap and they explained it to me, of like Omni-Man explaining like, Mark, you still need to work out, like you're super, but if you want to get stronger as a Viltrumite, you need to push yourself past your limits. You need to
Yeah.
fly faster, hit harder, like pick up heavier and heavier things, like all that stuff. Go to space and just stay there for long periods of time so you can get used to like holding your breath for longer and longer. Like if you want to be as powerful as me, that's what you have to do. And he's like, wow, I didn't know I have to work out. So in the book, they have that conversation. And Mark immediately, like after his dad, like after the stuff with his dad and like his dad leaves, immediately starts being like, yeah, I just need to get stronger. Cecil, build machines so that I can work out. And so along the journey getting to Angstrom Levy, Mark is much more powerful. Not like more powerful than his dad, but he's able to handle a lot of the threats pretty easy. And he's like,
Yeah.
because he's good at what he does. He's gotten better as a superhero. Here, they haven't done that. So Mark struggles a lot more. And so the whole like him holding back feels more like Mark, just cut loose because you are getting wrecked. Versus in the book, it's like Mark loses fights, but he wins a lot more than he loses. Most of the time,
Yeah.
he only loses fights against like Viltrumites, like people who are really powerful. But the regular people, he handles pretty easily, like or with help. And so he's like, so when we get to the like him like killing Angstrom Levy, it really is like him being like, I feel bad. I thought you were stronger. Cause like I know I could have handled you without killing you, but it's just I was really angry. But here it's like, no, Mark, you needed to kill him because otherwise, like, there was
Yeah.
no way. There was no way you were gonna beat him.
I get annoyed sometimes about that character, like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna kill anybody because it's like the right thing to do, and it's like, what? No, no, the man is trying to kill everybody on the planet. I think it's justified.
That's the thing,
Especially
because
if they're trying to beat you to a pulp. Yeah, it's justified.
especially because like I'm like the death penalty exists in the like agree with it or disagree with it. There are some people that are just evil. All right, when you look at people like a Jeffrey Dahmer or the Night Stalker, or like people like that, it's like some people just need to die.
The
They had
story
their
of like,
chance to be like rehabilitated and a better person in society, and like and squandered it at every opportunity. And they will
like
continue to be that person.
if you're gone, there's kind of a net plus for the universe in a certain way, and that's kind of fucked up. But like, yeah. So, what did you think about the dad's arc in this one? Omni Man's come.
I so in the it's that's the one thing where I was like interesting to see how they were going to go with Omni-Man, because that is exactly Omni-Man's arc in the comic. Is he goes to another planet and he gets a bug lady pregnant and has a purple kid, Oliver. And then he gets captured, and then he's not in, like, I mean, he's in the book, but in the sense that he's just in prison for the rest of it. So he won't really, and he'll get more to do later. But for now, I was like, I had no complaints because I liked it in the book. So here I was like, cool, we're doing the same things. I do like that there's a little, like, I like what I think I like about it more than anything else. It's just that I get to see it acted out, because one thing to read it, and another thing to like hear J.K. Simmons' performance, who's just really good as
Yeah,
Omni-Man.
so good. Yeah.
And so hearing him like act it out, of like, especially that moment when he's like, why do I feel bad? Like, I don't like this. I don't like feeling bad for these creatures that they're dead. I should not feel bad. And it's just this interesting thing of like him trying to get rid of that brainwashing that the Viltrumites have like instilled in him, of like, you should not care. You shouldn't have empathy for the weak. And he's like, no, but like I feel bad. Like, and even coming down to that last line of like, I miss my wife with Debbie, where it's like, well, I mean, yeah, because you've never had a loving figure in your life, and Debbie was probably the first. And
Yeah.
for the first time, you're now feeling bad that you that you did that to someone who loved you, and for a fact loved you, like as her husband. And so I think it's interesting. But really the most exciting parts about that arc don't happen till later, from what I'm to understand. So it's like so it's one of those things where it's like here it's good. Like, so don't get me wrong, it's all good, but this is like really like the setup for like where we're gonna really go with Omni-Man down the line. Um, but for what we got, still it's great. And also seeing Omni-Man in those other universes where it's evil Mark with Omni-Man, I'm like, is it weird that I feel like this is still an interesting like father son bond? That they're
No, I was like at the beginning when they first showed them together. He's like, he doesn't like scold him about like weirdly about like not killing Eve when he just paralyzes her. He's like, okay, well you have people to take care of her. Okay, like he doesn't like condemn him or be like, no, now she's really useless. We have to get rid of her. He's like, what makes you happy, son? It's like, why are you a good dad to the Eve? Like, this is weird.
Mhm.
Weird energy going on there. I did I liked how Mark reacted when he saw Omni Man.
Yeah.
Again, where he hugged him, and it was like, I get it, where you would still hug your dad and then be like, okay, fuck you, I'm gone. I think it was stupid on Mark's decision to stay. I I don't like Mark for that. I think it was his, but I get it. He's got moral compass or a weird. I mean, look at his parents. He's got a weird moral compass going on. Um, he's so easy to manipulate. Omni Man's can manipulate him so easily with the emotions, and then it's interesting at the end that Omni Man's just like, I'm feeling these emotions now,
Mm-hmm.
and the way that they can definitely eventually get manipulated. I don't know if that's eventually coming down the line or anything. I want to start reading the comics. This show does make me want to read the comics.
I can lend you my omnibus. Like, it's
I
a
might
big
take
book,
you up
but
on that offer.
it'll give you plenty of Invincible to read.
I might take you up on that offer. And this is what's great about the show. It really does make you want to read the comics. Not only to be like, well, I need to know what's kind of going to happen. And since they're, as you say, staying surprising, which is surprising for a comic book show, as somebody who's talking as a Walking Dead fan, that they're staying so close to the material
Well, what's funny is
that
it's
that's
like the
going on.
things. I think Robert Kirkman and the rest of the writing team are realizing like the things that worked about the comic keep. The things that don't, those are the things they change. Like the stuff with Rex, or like especially the main one, Debbie. Debbie in the comics is nothing like Debbie in the show, because Debbie in the comics is like basically not a character. She's like, at least not until like much later. For a lot of it, she has nothing to do. She has no agency. She's kind of just the mom of Mark Grayson, and she gets kind of just stuff dumped on her. Because like in the comic, Mark does take Oliver and be like, "Here, mom, like take care of this baby." But like it really is a thing where Mark's like, "Can you take care of this baby?" And she's like, "I guess." Like, she just accepts that. Versus here in the show where Debbie's like, I mean, I feel weird. I don't know. And Mark's like, no. Like, and Mark immediately is like, no, I don't want you to, like, I can do it. I can take care of this baby. And she's like, no, you need to go to school and you've got your own life. I'll take care of him. Like, I'll watch, like, and it's more agency that she makes that decision. And she's not just, Oliver's not just dropped on her to be like, Mom, can you do this? And she's like, all right, fine. It's like, no, I'm choosing to get this baby. And even then in the comics, very quickly, Debbie is like, "Aw, I have a new son." In here, I like the slower burn where she's like, at first it's more like a babysitting thing. Then it's been like, well, I guess I'm like your guardian. And then it grows into, no, you kind of are my son. Like, you're not my biological son, and there's still some baggage there, but I do still care about you as I would another baby or my own baby.
Well, like I said, I love Debbie's character development in this season because the way they handled her grieving process felt so much more real. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of times when they have these grieving characters, they'll be like, "Oh, I'm turning over a new leaf. I'm getting rid of everything. I'm starting a new life and like a pretend happiness." No, she's still angry. She's still crying. She's still mad at, Omni-Man, but she still loves Omni-Man. She's like in this middle of like grieving and rage and everything. And it feels so much more real compared to what they do with a lot of characters. Be like, I'm moving on. And then all of a sudden, like 3 months out, they're like, oh, I'm dating somebody. And, you always have that like issue with the new boyfriend and the son and being like, oh, blah, blah, blah. She's like, no, I'm pissed. I'm angry. And I like just want to be angry, and like good for her, be pissed at like everything, the agency, Cecil, everybody. And when it comes to Oliver the baby, I like how she does have that hesitancy. She's like, all right, I'm doing it for you, I'm doing it for you, so you go to school, you have a normal life. And plus she knows that she can take care of an alien baby. She knows she can take care of a baby who has the differences like he did. And then when Cecil shows up and is like, we have people. I like that Cecil kind of gives her that option, but he's trying to manipulate her too. He's like,
oh, the whole time I was like, he kept looking at the baby. I'm like in his mind, he's like, I want that baby.
Yeah, he's like, he's gonna snatch that kid. Especially he's like, we got a team coming over. He's like, first of all, you have my mom's house bugged. Creepy, dude. Creepy. But Cecil's like, yeah, we could take the kid, and she's like, absolutely not. I don't care. This is the weird half brother to my son and my ex husband's new baby. She's like, I'm gonna protect this kid because in the end, it's like, it's a baby. It's innocent. It hasn't done anything but be born. And I do love how Debbie is not accepting of it because it's necessarily his brother. She's accepting of it because she's like, you're an innocent life, and she's seen what this agency has done to like superheroes and aliens, and how they manipulated them, and how they kind of turned good people. Like, what is it, Donald? Made Donald into like half a robot.
Yeah, which
So
I appreciate that too,
like,
because that literally in the comics that just comes out of nowhere, where he's like, "Yep, I've been killed multiple times and stuff," and there's none of the like grieving that he has is there, and I'm like, Donald's a robot? Has he been a robot this whole time?
They're like, this is what you are now. He's like, what the fuck, man? He's like, first of all, you could have told me. Secondly, what the fuck? I like how when he tries to confront Cecil, he's like, everybody get out. And like nobody moves. They're all like, who are you talking to? Who the fuck do you think
like, you work for Cecil too,
telling
bitch.
me to get
I ain't going
telling
nowhere.
me to get out. And then the second time, and they're like, all right, no, he's pissed. I'm gonna go take an early lunch. It's fine. And Cecil's like, fine, what do you want to talk about? He's like, what do you think I want to talk about, man? What do you think I would be so angry about all of a sudden? He's like, oh, yeah, okay, you figured it out. Like,
You turned me to the damn Terminator, man.
So it's like he just has like his bones replaced by the robots, right? Did I understand?
No,
Like,
his whole body. All that's left is his brain.
Okay. I was trying to figure it out because when they showed the robot on the table, I was like, okay, so did they they didn't keep the flesh because his flesh was supposed to be basically burned off.
Yeah, no, it's all synthetic except for his brain. That's the only part that is still like alive, like technically him.
I think it's kind of a dick move that they kept his nerve endings. When he stabs himself, he's like, ah! And then it's like, whoa, did you really need to still make me feel pain? That I'm like, I feel like that's kind of a dick move. I'm still gonna stub my toe and hurt myself. You could have taken that away. My life.
Like before we while we still got a little bit of time, what did you think about Amber and Mark's relationship? Because that was like, it was interesting to see like people's reactions to like the 180 that people have about Amber, where they were like, because their breakup, like in the comics, it's a lot more, it's still sad, but it's more amicable. And mainly because Amber in the comics has like started hanging out with this other guy. Like she never cheats on Mark, but she already is like, there's this other guy, and he like, I get to do the normal stuff I can't do with you with him, where we go to the movies and we talk about stuff and we hang out. And Mark realizes, especially after like the Anissa stuff, where he's like, I just, you know what, like our worlds are just too different, and like, and I want you to be happy. So they have a very amicable conversation about it. Here, it's still amicable, but it's definitely like a lot sadder because the Anissa thing that happens here with Amber happens to Debbie in the comics. So there's a little bit of a difference versus like Mark's superhero world never really comes in conflict with Amber's world in the comic. It's just they just
Oh.
realize that like Mark's just busy all the time and Amber is missing out on a lot of the stuff she wants to do. Here I like this change better. That like Amber is willing to like after a while they're like we're still going to make this work, and then Anissa shows up and is like I'm about to snap this girl's neck if you won't come on over here, and it's just like after that no that makes sense. You right. I don't know if this
Yeah,
works.
she's like, all right, I think I'm gonna just no. I first of all so there is a scene, I think it's in the second episode, where they have sex for the first time, and the conversation before they have sex, because they don't show any sex, they only show violence in this show, they cut away, of course, but the conversation they have is super funny and I feel like super real. She's like, should I be on top, like you with your super speed and stuff, like are we gonna be chill? Like I just need to know some and I'm like, you know what, fair, and practice safe sex too. uh I just love that little like tidbit they have there. That was so funny. But I did like Amber so much more in this season because they gave her so much more to do, where it really did show more conflict between having this being, dating a superhero, where she's now having these friends who are on the outside who see this relationship and is like, yeah, he's ditching you all the time. Well, it's for a good reason. He's still ditching you all the time. And like last minute, like when they were at that comic convention, and it's just supposed to be a moment. And there are times where he can tell Cecil, like, I'm going to go offline for a couple hours, just a couple hours, so I can go on a proper date. And he doesn't do that. It's almost like he's not willing to break away from the superhero thing just to give her a moment of normality, when all the time she's being like, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, I'll talk to your mom. Yeah, I'll adjust. I'll make replans. So it really does show the imbalance of the relationship much more this season, with having her more active and having her own social life. I do like how the breakup came up after being threatened, because it really did show. She's like, look, I knew like I may have been like involved in some stuff. She's like, but like I almost genuinely died there for a moment. And like, I'm 18. I'd rather not get threatened maybe on a weekly basis or something. Because you always see that with superhero girlfriends. Oh, we have your girlfriend. I told her to stop going to the park alone at this point. At this point, it's kind of, she knows what's happening every week. Like,
that's how people's
man, the
argument
buddy
with Lois
system,
Lane
yeah.
is just like Lois is always getting kidnapped. It's just like Superman. I feel like Superman at that point just like,
yeah. Oh my god, that reminds me.
I gotta go, y'all. What you mean you gotta go? You know what it is, okay?
That reminds me of I think it was the early 2000s Superman, with the actor who ironically was in the Legends of Tomorrow, where Lois Lane literally jumps out a fucking window. It's like, oh, you're Superman, I trust you. Just like leaps out the window. Like, no, don't do that. Stop putting yourself in constant danger. Learn the buddy system. Maybe wear, an Apple tag so it's easier to find you. I don't know. But she right away is like, yeah, I don't want to deal with this when I have like a calculus class in the morning. So I respect her, and it's a smarter move. And their breakup's a little more amicable, or at least it is still amicable from what you've told me. So I do think it helped that they gave her such more individual personality, away from being a superhero girlfriend, to really show the imbalance of being a superhero girlfriend.
Yeah. And for a lot of people, they were like, yeah, it's Adam Eve time now, baby. He's single. She's single. Let's go. Let's do this. And as a person who has read the comics ahead and I've gotten past this point, I will tell you, it may not go down the way you want it to.
I'm disturbed by what that...
No, it's nothing bad. It's nothing bad. It's just a lot of drama that I was like... we're doing this now, huh? Okay.
She's got her own like mommy daddy issues going on too in this season.
Yeah, that's true. It's just a lot of drama, but no, nothing major. It's not like Adam Eve and then like Adam Eve reveals that she's like been impregnated by like another superhero while Mark and Amber have been together, and now they have to deal with this baby mama drama. Like, no, it's nothing like that. It's just one of those things where I'm like, we were almost there. And now it's just getting.
You're so close.
Now we gotta wait
I
even
feel
longer. God dang it!
I hate those moments. Like you were almost there. You were a couple for so long. Like you were, yeah. I hate those ships where you're like, it's almost canon. You're almost there, and then like, no, there's one more thing. It's like, damn you. I'm gonna stick around because I know it's coming and I want that moment. But like, screw you.
But so like, what's your final grade for Invincible, season 2?
I think it was A quality this time around. Last season they relied a lot on the voice actors and the celebrities they brought in to the point like they filled up that even those like those little side characters to minimal characters so much that you got distracted. You're like, oh hey, that's that's this, and I gotta look it up. And you're right, it took a little bit longer. This season was really like, here are the storylines. Here's what we're giving you. You're gonna follow these storylines. We got some ridiculous ones in the middle, but they're like, and all this whole season, everybody, even like Amber's character and Rex's character, had great character development. And they had proper character development all the way into the end. It's not like the last episode where they just suddenly reverted back to who they used to be, that final, oh, we're just who we are. No, they were all who they have now turned into. Whether they're going to keep that in season 3, all this character development, is something that's always into question because sometimes they revert characters back. But
Mhm.
like I said, especially with Debbie's uh story arc, I think it was so well crafted, so well done. Her grieving period, everything. I definitely give this whole season like an A. I might even watch it again. There was just a lot of moments that like hit on the nail. It was just great.
I'm definitely also giving this season an A. I think they've elevated everything. They focused up a lot more. And I get it because Invincible is like, and as Robert Kirkman was writing it when it was coming out, like it was very much a like, all right, this week the Lizard League, next week the Mauler Twins and stuff. It was very much treated like that standard superhero comic where like some some issues deal with like the main story that we're dealing with the Viltrum Empire and all that stuff, but most of but a lot of these issues are also just filler where we have to deal with other characters like the Martians and like with the Mahler twins and other characters and other smaller things. And I think this season they really focused up because that was a thing holding back the last season. This season they're there, but they're not like they don't distract from what's going on because it's either like if we do those side stories, we're gonna but we're still gonna have character moments. We're still gonna have these characters do something that will be uh, uh, really important for their character. Even the Alan episode we get that's strictly an Alan episode.
Yeah, that
It's an
was I was
important
con-
episode later down the line. And then also the Angstrom Levy stuff. It's like I just like, and it's the same complaint I had in the comic too, because like Omni-Man leaves, and really the period where there's no Viltrumite stuff going on and it's Angstrom Levy time is kind of boring to me. And they do their best to make it interesting here. Sterling K. Brown does a great job as the new villain. But honestly, I'm glad it's kind of over because now we can get back to the Viltrumite stuff. But we have to do it because that section of Invincible is very important to all the characters' development, everybody. So, like, it is a necessary part of the story. And I think they do a great job telling it here in this season. But I'm just glad that it's kind of like a piece of me is glad that it's over because now we can focus up back to the Viltrumite stuff. But all that being said, I think this is a great season. I can't wait for next season. I hopefully they have like faster processes because I know that the strikes did halt this show a little bit, but also you can tell Amazon Prime held it back so they could have one of their premiere shows, because this and The Boys are like their premiere shows, so they can have one of their premiere shows be on with the commercials on.
Oh yeah.
Like because they changed up their tier list with the commercials and stuff.
Fuck them
And
for
that was a
doing
major
that.
complaint people had, where like the second half of the show came out and now all of a sudden the second half littered with commercials. The nice thing is they are fast, so do know that, but just
Yeah, but they also put them at the most inconvenient times. They knew where to place those commercials to be like,
oh,
fuck you, Amazon.
oh no.
But
I think we lost Alex. Oh no. All right. Well, socials audience. Firstly, you can find me at Not Jerome Rhett on Instagram. And also check out all of the extra content that you can't get on all the audio streaming platforms here at the First Ones to Die YouTube channel. Although if you're listening to this on the audio platform, go and check out our YouTube channel. We have all types of stuff for you to check out. Mini reviews, book reviews, gaming content, all types of things. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. We have a lot of great stuff for you to check out. You can also follow Jonathan at Jonathan Keys on Twitter and Instagram. And, check out all the stuff he's got going on. And you could check out Alex at Alex and Nobody on Instagram as well. And also check out our TikTok at the First Ones to Die. Really, all of our social medias are the First Ones to Die, but the TikTok especially is where you can catch highlights from all the episodes and also extra stuff that Alex just posts just to be funny that you might enjoy and find very entertaining. So go check that stuff out as well. But until next time, have a good night, good morning, good evening, whenever you're listening to this. And we will catch you for the next one.
No, that's like my family already knows me as like the rule stickler when it comes to games, because I'm like, if we're playing games here, we're gonna play fair. This is how the rules are, and this is not what we doing. That's
no, it's not. No, but here's the thing: everybody makes their own rules in their game. So if you're gonna try to throw rules at me, let's throw like actual. I will get down to the point, and I'll be worse than you. Because if you're like, well, those are the, I'm like, oh, you want to start playing by the fucking rules? We're gonna play by the rules then.
Go on over to the YouTube channel at the First Ones to Die to see all the fun stuff we got going on here, like mini reviews, book reviews, gaming videos, vlogs, all types of stuff.
Please follow us at the First Ones to Die everywhere. Go ahead and give us a like and subscribe.